everyone. So in this video, we are going to go over evaluating expressions and solving equations. One thing I kind of want to emphasize for this video is make sure that you are using your calculator for this and that you know how to properly plug these values into your calculator. I want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with it, knows how to plug in fractions and use parentheses and things of that nature. So let's go ahead, let's get started on number 1 here. So it says j plus k over 3, and we're going to use that j is -2 and k is -3. So what this means is that wherever we see a j in the equation, we are going to put a -2, and wherever we see a k in the equation, we are going to put a -3. So we've got -2 plus -3 over 3. All right, and then we have to go ahead and evaluate this. Now, if you recall, we should be using order of operations, right, which would be PEMDAS, which is parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And keep in mind you do multiplication and division together and addition and subtraction together. So we look, we don't got any parentheses, we don't got any exponents. We do have some division though, right? So we should go and do our division, which is going to be -3 divided by 3. So we end up with -1, okay? Then at this point, you could do it in your head. -2 plus -1, we've got a positive and a negative next to each other, so we could rewrite it like this, which is going to give us a -3. Now let's say you're not super comfortable yet with adding and subtracting integers in your head. Integers are going to be positive and negative numbers. What you could do is you could go to your calculator and just plug it in. So you would do -2 and make sure you use the negative sign. All right, the negative sign looks like that. The subtraction sign just looks like that. It's the subtraction signs are between the plus and the times. So we're going to do -2 minus 1, and we get -3. Now let's say you got an error. Oops, you won't even let me do it. If you got some sort of an error, that means that maybe you plugged something in wrong, or you used a minus sign instead of a negative sign, something along those lines. So make sure that you are using the proper sign when you're plugging into your calculator. All right, let's go ahead and try another one. So it says -4 minus, and then m minus p. So we need to go and substitute in what m is, and we have to substitute in what p is. So we're going to do -4 minus, and we've got open parentheses, -1 minus -2 close parentheses, okay? So again, if we're following our PEMDAS, right, parentheses comes first. So we need to evaluate what's inside of these parentheses first, which would be this thing here. Now, you could go right to your calculator. All right, I could do -1. I'm going to use a negative sign. And then minus, so I use a subtraction sign, -2. Oop, sorry, I forgot my negative sign there. There we go. Which would give us a 1. All right. Or you could do it in your head, right? If we had we had -1 minus -2. Two negatives make a positive when they're right next to each other. So we get -1 plus 2, which is going to give us a 1. All right. So we get -4 minus 1. And again, you could just go to your calculator, plug it in, which is going to give us a -5. All right, let's go ahead and try another one here. Let's do number 7. So again, we need to plug in. We're going to plug in 6 for m. Now, there might be multiple places where you need to plug it in. So if you look, we have to plug in m 3 times. We're going to plug in n, which is 2. All right, so we've got 6 plus 2 all over 4 minus 6 minus 6. All right, so according to PEMDAS, what do we have to do first here? All right, think about PEMDAS, right? Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. What operation am I going to do first? So we're going to do the parentheses first, which is going to be the 6 minus 6, which is going to give us 0. So we end up with 6 plus 2 over 4 minus, and then that's 0. All right, awesome. Now, here's the thing. I could see here, right, if we're doing PEMDAS, a lot of you guys are going to want to go ahead and do multiplication division next. But the issue is we actually have to kind of handle what's on top here, what's in the numerator first before we divide. So we're going to go ahead and do 6 plus 2, which is 8 over 4. We still have our minus 0. 8 divided by 4 gives us 2, which is going to give us 2. All right. Very nice. All right. Let's go ahead. We'll do one more here. We can do 9. So we'll plug in a 5 for y, plug in a 5 for z, and we get 3 times 5 minus 5 times 5 minus 3. So again, we need to do it in parentheses. So if we look here, we've got 3 times 5, which is going to be 15, minus 5, which is going to give us a nice 10. Then we got 5 minus 3, which is 2, which is going to give us a 20. All right. We'll hop back. I want you guys to do number 5 on your own. So go ahead and evaluate number 5. So if you do number 5, we're going to plug in negative 5 for p. So when you plug this in, you have to make sure that you keep the parentheses. Whenever you plug in a negative value, you have to use parentheses with it, all right, to square it. So we're going to do negative 5 squared minus 1, all right? So then negative 5 squared, and think about it this way. It's negative 5 times negative 5, right? That's what negative 5 squared is. That's going to give us a positive 25. So if you plug this into your calculator, oh my goodness. There we go. And you got negative 25, that's because you didn't use parentheses. Okay, essentially what that means is this, like a negative slapped in front of 5 times 5. So negative 5 times negative 5 should give you a positive 25. 25 minus 1 is going to give us a 24. All right, very nice. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to the equation solving. So we've already kind of worked on solving some equations. Now these ones are a little bit more complicated. There's going to be variables on both sides. There's going to be some combining like terms. So we'll work through these together. So I'm looking at this, and the first thing I want to do is distribute. I want to distribute this negative 8, and I want to distribute this negative 5. Why do I want to do this? Well, I have a number in front of parentheses with no operation in between. So that implies that it's negative 8 times this quantity. So that tells me I need to do distribution. So I'm going to distribute a negative 8, and I'm going to distribute a negative 5. Yeah, that should go a little bit further. There we go. So I end up with negative 8a, and then I'm going to get plus 48 plus 3. And then I get 20a minus 5. So now we do want to get all of the a's on one side and all of the constants on the other. But before we do that, we need to combine like terms. When like terms are on the same side of the equation, you just add them like normal. So this 48 and this 3, these are like terms. They're both constants, so we can add them up. So we end up with minus 8a plus 51. And then we're going to set that equal to 20a minus 5. So now I'm going to work on getting all of my a's on the same side of the equation and all of my constants on the other. It doesn't matter which side you get it on. Let's see, I'm gonna go ahead and I'll do minus 20a, minus 28. I'll get the a on this side. So I'm gonna get minus 28a plus 51 equals, and this is important, do not lose the negative on this 5. It's not just a 5, it is a negative 5. So you got to keep that. It's a minus 5, negative 5, same thing. So you got to keep that sign with it. All right, now we got to bring this 51 over. So I get minus 28 equals negative 56. And I'm going to divide, 28a, I forgot my a. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide by negative 28. Which is going to give me a positive 2. So I'll give you a chance to finish copying that down if you missed any of it. All right. So the reason that we ended up getting a positive answer here is because we had a negative divided by a negative, which is going to give us a positive. All right. Let's go ahead and do... I want to do number 12. All right. So again, we have to do some distribution here. We're going to distribute this negative 8. And we're going to distribute this 7. So we're going to get negative 8r minus 80 minus 2r equals 2r. And then now I do my distribution, which is going to give me a negative 21r. And then I do 7 times 9, which is going to give me 63. So plus 63. Now, here I'm going to have to combine some like terms before I start moving things to other sides of the equations. So here, on the left-hand side, I have a negative 8r and a negative 2r that I have to combine. And then on this other side of the equation, on the right-hand side, I've got a negative 2r and a minus 21r that I can combine. So negative 8 minus 2 is going to give me a negative 10r. I'm going to do minus 80 equals, and then I'm going to end up with negative 23r plus 63. So now I'm going to go ahead and get my variables on the same, all of my variables on the same side. So I'll add 23r, which is going to give me a 13. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring my 80 over. Which is going to give me 143. Now question, what is my next step here? What am I going to do to finish solving? I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 13, which is going to give me 11. So we're going to do one more problem together. And really the main reason I want to do this problem is so that we can practice working with our calculator with fractions, okay? So we're looking here, and it looks a lot more complicated, but it's really not. It's pretty much the same stuff we've been doing. So first you look, do I need to distribute anything in this problem? And no, you don't. We're going to go ahead, though, and we look. I'm like, well, I got two like terms on this right-hand side of the equation. So I have to combine 5/6 and negative 1/7. So I have to do 5/6 minus 1/7. Now, could you do this by hand? Of course you could. But we're going to practice using our calculator to make sure we know how to plug fractions in. So the way I'm going to teach it to you is kind of a universal way to plug in fractions on calculators. There is another way to do it on the newer TI-84s. But we're not going to go over that today, just in case people have older calculators and whatnot. And I like this because if you don't have a TI calculator, if you have, let's say you have a TI-30 or an older one, it'll still work. So essentially what we need to do here is 5/6 minus 1/7, right? So when you plug a fraction into a calculator, what you want to do is use parentheses and the division symbol. So we're going to do open parenthesis, 5 divided by 6, close parenthesis, minus, open parenthesis, 1 divided by 7, close parenthesis. All right? Now, when you plug this in, you're going to get a disgusting decimal like this. And I do not like this decimal. I don't want to write this decimal out. I want the fraction equivalent of this decimal, okay? And the way that you can get a decimal into a fraction on your calculator, it's very easy. You just do math, enter, enter. So to get this into a fraction, I'm going to do math, enter. I'm going to click enter one more time, and I get a nice fraction here. So I can go ahead and rewrite this as n plus 43 twelfths equals 227/70 plus 29 over 42n. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to continue solving the equation. And we need to try and get all the variables on one side and all the constants on the other. So what I'm going to do is move this 29/42 n over to the left-hand side of the equation. So I'm going to subtract 29/42 from both sides. So these guys are like terms, and I need to combine them now. But keep in mind, this n has like a 1 in front of it, right? So it's going to be 1 minus 29/42. Okay, so you're going to plug this into your calculator, and I want you to give me the fraction equivalent of what the answer would be. So plug in 1 minus 29/42 and tell me what you get. So when I do it, I get this gross decimal, I don't like it, and I end up with 13/42. So I get 13 over 42n. And then I still have my plus 43 over 12 equals 227 over 70. So now I'm going to bring this 43 over 12 over to the right-hand side. So how am I going to do that? What am I going to do to move this 43 over 12 over? I have to subtract both sides by 43 over 12. So I'm going to do minus 43 over 12, minus 43 over 12. So I've got 227 divided by 70 minus 43 twelfths. Again, tell me what you get. So when I do that, I get negative 143 over 420. All right, so I would rewrite this. I'll bring my work up here. We've got 13 over 42n is going to equal negative 143 over 420. Now at this point, there are two different ways to go about solving this. You could multiply by the fractional reciprocal, or you could just divide. I'm going to go ahead and divide because I think that'll make the most sense to you, right? So just like if I had something like this, you would divide by 2, right? You divide by what's attached to the end. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to divide by 13 over 42. So when you plug this in, you need to use parentheses. So you're going to do parenthesis negative 143 divided by 420, and then division symbol, open parenthesis, 13 divided by 42. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to cheat a little bit and bring that up from over there. And then I'm going to divide that by 13 divided by 42, close parenthesis. All right, so tell me what you get here. Sorry. So you plug this in, and you should get that n is equal to negative 11 over 10. Awesome.